my name is Trin and today I'm here to film a very exciting video, and it is a book review and discussion for Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. As you can see, I'm very extra with my makeup and my hair. I literally asked my sister like, hey, can you curl my hair, because like I really want to look very pretty for this book and this video. Basically, I'm wearing a yellow shirt and then blue eyeshadow to match with the book cover, and honestly, oh my god, my hair is brown too. I'm basically Lucy. Wait, I'm so happy about this. I am here to tell you my thoughts, my feelings, and what has happened in this book. And if you don't know, Chain of Iron is the second book of the Last Hours trilogy, and the Last Hours trilogy is the sequel trilogy to the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is my favorite series of all time. So for Chain of Iron, let's quickly talk about synopsis. There is a serial murderer, and basically this always happens. Oh my god. But anyway, there is a person who is killing like a bunch of shadow hunters, and of course it's up to our main characters to find out who is the killer and what's going on and why this person is killing so many people, because oh my god, the murders is really like gruesome and graphic, explicit. So of course, you know, be cautious when you read this book. I think for the synopsis, that's all I can say because I don't want to say too much. And then for the trigger warnings, we have murder, stabbing, death, alcoholism, and domestic abuse. And now for my review. I've said this multiple times, but I just wish that there are more action scenes in this book. If you don't know, Chain of Iron is a very character-driven book because we really focus on the characters. Obviously, I'm, you know, okay with that. However, I just wish we have more fighting scenes, because if you think about it, we only have like 1.5 fighting scene, and that's not a lot considering this book is like roughly 700 pages long. Now that I have said what I need to say regarding my review, I will jump into the spoiler section. So real quick, I have given this book 4 out of 5 stars. As of right now, Chain of Gold is probably like my favorite book of the series, but you never know, the third book can be like freaking amazing. Also, real quick, I do want to say that this video will be up after the live show, but basically I hosted a Chain of Iron live show, so I'll have like the link to the live show down in the description box below. But not just that, I have a reading vlog where I read this book. I basically read an arc of this book, so that was also really cool. I'll have the link to that down in the description box below. If you have not read this book, please leave, read this book, then come back so we can discuss what happened in this book. But if you have read this book, then of course please stay so we can discuss everything that happened in this book. It's gonna be really fun. Let's quickly start with this character named Philomena D'angelo and how do I say this? She's just there. Well, first of all, I was very suspicious of her because I'm like, that was rude, okay? It was a scam. But anyway, basically this character, she shows up and turns out she's from Italy. She's nice and all, but I was like, I don't know, I'm very suspicious. She can be the bad guy, you never know. Next thing you know, she's dead. Like, she's been killed by the killer, and I was like, oh. A part of me is like, what's the point of having her in this book when she's gonna be killed off like immediately? I think like within like the first 200 pages she's dead. I think she was killed before Elias, no, what's his name, Elias, Cordelia's dad. Yeah, that's a little bit weird, you know, like she was killed so quickly. So a part of me was like, why is she in here? And the reason why I thought her character would be like a big deal is because in the beginning of this book, Cassandra Clare dedicated Chain of Iron to Rick Riordan because of his character Nico D'Angelo. Basically, she uses the name D'Angelo for Philomena, so that's why I'm like, okay, so you know, this character is gonna be a big deal, because like, why would Cassie write her character, you know, like this? Anyway, let's just move on. So let's talk about Grace Blackthorne. So here's the thing. I reread Chain of Gold before I read Chain of Iron, and honestly, I'm very glad that I did that because my opinions for Grace has changed a lot. I will say it's for the better because a lot of people just shit on her. I mean, I understand why, but at the same time, I feel like you should have this strong feeling of hatred against Tatiana. Please, like, don't shame Grace, because obviously, now that we have read this book, it's so obvious that Grace has been like abused by Tatiana. So basically in this book, we're getting a lot of flashback about Grace, and honestly, I really enjoy those chapters because we get to know more about her. And again, I'm so glad that I reread Chain of Gold because I really like, well, actually, let's not me I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say I really like Grace, but it's more like I understand her character now, because here's the thing, she's not the bad guy, it's Tatiana. Yeah, it's really nice to see the flashback because we get to see Grace and Jessie and how they became brother and sister. Past tense. I really love their relationship. I think it's so cute. It's really nice to see those scenes because we get to see Grace before she becomes a weapon for Tatiana, and of course we learn that Belial gives Grace the power to influence men. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that she was born with this kind of power because in a way it's like a siren power, you know, like she can definitely influence men. But it's nice to know that Belial is the one who gives her that power. Throughout this entire book, there's like a few times where Grace is about to tell James the truth. Like the wedding day, like she was about to tell him, but then Tatiana shows up and oh my god, I literally said, please be a good person, Grace. I was rooting for her because I just have like a feeling that she's going to redeem herself. She did, but not really. Like not really, okay? We'll talk more about the ending later, but I was just rooting for her because I was like, Grace, I need you to be a good person. I know she's a good person, but the thing is, Tatiana, I want to talk about this. Like, I'm gonna shit on Tatiana, and I think I have every right to do that because she is such an awful person. Basically, I think this is after Belial gives Grace her power. Tatiana takes Grace to Paris, I believe, to help her train. I was mad because Grace was only like 11 years old. I believe she got this power a year after Jessie has died, and Tatiana forces her to go to Paris and to influence men, basically like older men. So I'm sitting here like, oh my god, this grown-ass woman, this mom, this Tatiana basically forced this 11-year-old kid to use her power to influence older men. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, because it's so fucking disgusting. I literally said electric chair. Stop exploiting young children when it comes to shit like this, because it's really gross. Like, I'm not gonna blame Grace, she's a child. I'm perfectly aware that Tatiana knows what she's doing, okay? So that's why I have huge issues with Tatiana. And then of course in this book we also learned that Grace was bought by Tatiana, so that was also upsetting. Like, oh my god, Tatiana is literally the fucking worst. I hate her so much. All right, let's talk about the wedding. I was a little bit emotional when we see Jem playing the violin outside of the institute, and it was like a wedding gift for James, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I was so emotional because I think with this scene we see Will and Tessa being so happy, and then we get to hear the music from outside the institute, and it's because Jem was playing it for James. And like, I love that scene so much. I was so emotional. I was like crying a little bit because I just didn't expect that, and also I was so happy because like I love Jem so much. So there's that. And now let's quickly talk about James and Cordelia. I love them so much. Like, in this book I was infatuated with them and their relationship. I just want them to be together, but for the right reason, because throughout this entire book, James, oh my god, like I know that he loves her, but he just doesn't know it. And Cordelia, I know for a fact she is heartbroken the entire time, but at the same time she really enjoys spending time with James and vice versa, and it's just so cute. So there's multiple lines about how James is like weak for Cordelia's hair. Like, do you understand? Like, he is in love with her, but he just doesn't know it. But I'm in so much pain right now. Like, the more I think about it, the more frustrated I get, because it's like, wow, we could have had it all, okay? Like, this relationship is so fucking cute. I love them together. I know that they love each other, but it's just so complicated. And then also, let's quickly talk about the fact that James is like husband slash daddy material, because for their 2-week anniversary, he gets her a necklace of the globe because they talk about traveling a lot. Oh my god, traveling a lot. I was like, that's so fucking cute. But at the same time, I'm like, you're telling me this man is literally like the perfect husband, and yet this whole marriage is a scam, okay? This whole marriage is fake. And then also, I just want him to take off the bracelet, because multiple times he's like, you know what, I need to take this off, and then he forgets about it like a minute later. And it happens so many times. It's to the point where I'm like, dude, Cassandra Clare is like teasing me right now, because this is so ridiculous. And then towards like the end of the book, the bracelet falls off, and I was like, what is going on? Like, yeah, I was happy that it's finally off, but at the same time I was so confused because it's like, how did this happen? And then turns out his love for Cordelia is so strong that the bracelet cannot hold him anymore, so it just falls off. So I was like, oh, okay. Now let's talk about Anna and Ariadne. I was rooting for them before I read this book because obviously I freaking love Anna, but I was mad a little bit because it's like Anna was so brutal towards Ariadne. And here's the thing, I do understand why she's very hurt regarding this betrayal, because if you don't know, there is this short story where Anna and Ariadne, they fall in love, but then Ariadne was like, you know what, I'm gonna marry Charles for political reasons. The whole plan is like to have a secret relationship, but Anna was like, no, I don't want that. So they broke up years ago, and then now Ariadne wants Anna back, but Anna is so cautious when it comes to this relationship. So eventually they have this friends with benefit relationship, but still Anna is very mean towards Ariadne. And honestly, I do feel bad for Ariadne because she's putting herself out there, but Anna keeps shutting her down like multiple times in this book. It's to the point where I'm like, oh my god, I don't even ship them anymore, and it's just so devastating because I really love them as a couple. Like, at the end, that whole thing, I was upset a little bit because it's like, oh my god, like Ariadne is just over this. Yeah. Oh, Nellie's here.
Hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
Nellie curled my hair today.
It actually worked.
She's my hairstylist. Look at you.
That's crazy.
Thank you. Where was I? Shit. But anyway, Anna and Ariadne, it was cute and all, but still, I do wish Anna can be less mean in this book because, oh my god, she can be like really mean towards Ariadne. And now Jessie and Lucy, I will say my notes for them is pretty short because I feel like we don't see much of them because Jessie was doing other things in this book, but when we do see him and Lucy, things are kind of awkward with them. Towards the beginning of this book, obviously we get to see how like they both have feelings for each other, but it's also very complicated because Jessie is a ghost. When they do admit that they have feelings for each other, obviously they kiss. That dancing scene, that was so good, so cute. And now Will and Tessa, I want to talk about Will and Tessa because I love Will and Tessa so much. Honestly, I'm so glad that I shipped them in TID. I was definitely like a Will fan, and still am, obviously. Like, I freaking love Will Herondale. I miss his sense of humor. There's a scene where he basically asked Tessa if he can chase this demon. When I was reading it, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Of course, Will is doing shit like this at the age of what, 40? And also there is this scene on page 509. I want to read this out loud because I thought it was so freaking funny. Real quick, the context. Basically, Thomas is being trial with the sword and Will is asking him a bunch of questions. Will asks, is Gideon aware that he still owes me 20 pounds? Yes, said Thomas without being able to stop himself, but he is pretending not to remember. I knew it, cried Will. He turned to the Inquisitor with a triumphant look. I believe we're done here. I love that scene. It was so cute and funny, and I was like, damn, I miss him. I love Will, okay? I love Tessa, I love Will, I love Jem, my faves from TID. And now Alistair. I feel like my opinions when it comes to Alistair have changed so much, sorry, my opinions, plural. I hated him before Chain of Gold. I read a few short stories where we get to see James and the gang, but then Alistair was like super mean in the past, but now he's not. He's trying to change. However, it's hard for him to become a better person if the people that he has hurt don't give him an opportunity to change and grow and become a better person. And honestly, a part of me gets it because what he did was kind of bad, you know? I don't know. It's very complicated. Basically, he's trying to apologize to like Thomas and Matthew, but they don't want to like see him. They don't want to talk to him. But of course, it's complicated because Alistair is the brother of Cordelia, and Cordelia is married to James, and James is good friends with Matthew and Thomas. Do you understand the fucking problem? But besides that, Alistair, he's a really great brother to Cordelia. I love scenes where we see Alistair and Cordelia because you can tell that he really loves his younger sister, Cordelia. So now we get to see Elias. Obviously, he's kind of a jerk in this book. There's a scene, it's like towards the end of the wedding. He throws a big tantrum because he wasn't asked to walk down the aisle with Cordelia. I forgot like the title of that position, but basically Cordelia asked Lucy, because it's kind of like common to ask your like peripety, even though they're not peripety, still Lucy is going to be her peripety. So she asked Lucy because obviously her dad was not there the entire time. He literally shows up for the wedding, but still he shows up like months later. Like, do you understand? He's not a good dad. And then in this book he asked James for 5,000 pounds. I couldn't believe what I was reading because at the end of this book, I believe Cassandra Clare finally tells us how much that is as of like right now, like regarding like the currency. That is 600,000 pounds. If you convert that shit to dollars, it's even higher. I really did not like the dad, and then next thing you know, he gets killed. It was so fast. I was like, so this is a little bit awkward because I was shitting on him when he was asking the money, and then next thing you know, he's dead, and I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the family as well. I believe his wife Sona is pregnant right now. I'm scared for her because this event probably took like a huge toll on her, so I do feel bad for the family. So let's talk about Lucy and Grace and how they're working to bring back Jessie. Oh my god, wait, who am I yelling at? Lucy, stop fucking around with necromancy. Stop. It's not a good thing. And now let's talk about the references to the Dark Artifices trilogy. I do notice that they mentioned Felix Blackthorne because I was like, oh, isn't that Annabelle's dad? And I was right. Annabelle. It's been 3 years since I have talked about Annabelle Blackthorne. Annabelle has been dead for a long time. Like, Tatiana knows that, obviously. Malcolm now knows. Like, in this book, we get to see how he finally learns about Annabelle's death, and that's because of Grace. Grace has no chill. She basically just tells him, like, very bluntly, being like, yeah, the love of your life, Annabelle, is dead, okay? She's not an Iron Sister. That whole spiel is like a fucking lie. She's fucking dead. And I was like, You couldn't let him know in a nice manner? And then also, Lucy offers to raise Annabelle. Real quick, I don't remember if she offers to raise Annabelle or like raise the ghost of Annabelle. But still, I'm like, Lucy, stop being in this kind of thing. All right, let's quickly talk about this part. I want to say towards the middle of this book, Matthew tells Cordelia the truth, like why he's drinking so much. And oh yeah, Matthew knows that Cordelia is in love with James, and then also he tells her the truth. I will say I teared up a little bit when we find out that Henry and Charlotte have been trying to have another child, but it's just so freaking hard. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. That sucks so much, because the miscarriage is probably like a traumatic thing, obviously, for everyone, for Matthew, for Charlotte as well. It sucks. It sucks. I love Henry and Charlotte, and it just freaking sucks that they are having trouble having another child. So maybe at the end of the third book, like at the end of the trilogy, we will see them having another child. That'd be cool. So I do want that. And now this scene, I was really mad when Tatiana was like, Grace, go visit James. And then she does, and then Grace was like, James, kiss me. And then they kiss, and it was I fucking hate that scene. I was like, Grace, I'm rooting for you. Don't do that. A part of me is like, why don't you just lie to Tatiana, being like, yeah, I convinced him to kiss me. You don't need to do it. Just lie to your mom. And then I want to say a chapter later, maybe 2 chapters later, this is one of my favorite scenes. We get the scene where James was like tied to the bed. Cordelia was like, James, I want you to kiss me. And then they were like making out. She was on his lap. I was not ready for that scene. When James said, come sit on me, I was like, what the fuck? That scene, honestly, iconic. I feel like a lot of people like really love that scene, and like me too. Let's quickly talk about Bridgestock. He just accused Thomas of murder. He's just a man-child. Like honestly, the way he throws a big tantrum when things don't go his way, I was just like, how the fuck are you an inquisitor when you act like a 5-year-old? It's so embarrassing. And then also I noticed that he really hates James, and I think I know why, because I kind of make a connection like when I was reading this book. So basically I looked up Bridgestock on Google, and then obviously there's like the Shadowhunter wiki, and I read about him a little bit, and basically there is a story where we get to see James and Matthew become parapetite. At the ceremony, Bridgestock actually pulled Matthew to the side and tried to convince him to not become a parapetite to James, because James, his mom Tessa, is a warlock. So like basically the whole entire family has like connections to a prince of hell. Bridgestock was like, hey Matthew, don't become a parapetite with James, you know, like don't do that. But Matthew doesn't listen to Bridgestock, and then yeah, I think that Bridgestock is kind of like Dearborn, you know, from TDA. Oh my god, I keep making connections to TDA, but basically he has a prejudice against people who are like different, or like people who have connections to like demons and like warlocks and prince of hell. At the same time, the Herondales are good people. You're just fucking bitter, Bridgestock. Grace and Christopher, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I kind of ship it just because it means that she's not anywhere near James, but still a part of me is like, wait, this is kind of cute. So basically they bond a little bit. That part was like kind of cute, because it's like, oh my gosh, she loves science, and guess who's like really good at science? Christopher. And also I know that they marry on the family tree. I'm not trying to pay much attention to the family tree, but I know for a fact that Christopher and Grace do marry each other. So I wonder how that's gonna work, because it's like, how's this gonna play out? And now Thomas and Alistair, I ship them so much. I really ship them. First of all, I love Thomas. I also love Alistair. When Alistair like helped Thomas, because Thomas has been accused of murder even though he didn't do it, and Alistair is there, and Alistair was like, don't worry, he didn't kill anyone. Why? I know, because I was following him the entire time. So I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for showing up and helping my boy Thomas. And then, you know, they talk and they kiss. I love them together so much. I do. Okay, now let's talk about Jessie. Regarding the killer context, halfway through the book, I had a theory that the murders is like connected to Jessie's death. I know for a fact that Belial is trying to like bring back Jessie from dead because, you know, of Tatiana. So I was thinking, oh my god, is Belial killing these Shadowhunters to bring back Jessie? That was my theory, because I was thinking of TDA and how in that book, you know, necromancy, a bunch of people die, and it was just a whole mess. Turns out there are different ways to bring someone back from the dead. So I was thinking of that, like, oh my god, are these people being killed because we need them for Jessie's resurrection? I guess I was kind of right. We learned that the stolen runes are on Jessie, and of course Belial is using Jessie's body. Oh my god, I was so devastated when I read that part, because it's like, of course. I feel bad for Jessie because his body is being used for something so dark. He has been killing so many people, but he just doesn't doesn't know it, and obviously he cannot control his actions is because Bilio is using his own body. This information, I was so mad at Tatiana. The fact that she just hates her family, she hates the Herondales, she hates Jem, she just hates so many characters from TID, but at the same time she does stupid shit like this. We learned that a warlock puts a protection on Jessie when he was a baby, and that's why he died from getting the first rune, is because he was carrying an anchor for Bilio, and that's why Jessie was like doomed from the start, because his fucking mom Tatiana just let shit like this happen because she doesn't trust the Silent Brothers. And now Lilith. When Lilith shows up, I was like, am I reading Chain of Iron or City of Fallen Angels? So in this book we learned that Bilio steals a realm from Lilith, and then of course, I hate this part, in this book we see Cordelia fighting. So this is after she becomes a paladin. The way she fights was just like so good. She was such a badass, and I was like, yes, rooting for like Cordelia because, well, first of all, we're finally getting an action scene, so I was like all for it. And then we learned that Lilith is, you know, here, and turns out she can shapeshift. Magnus was like Lilith. I was so mad. I was like, god damn it. And then we learned that she was also Wayland the Smith. Basically, she swears to be a paladin for Wayland the Smith, but really it's for Lilith. So overall, Cordelia is fucking screwed. I honestly did not see that coming. Lilith being here, I was like, what is she doing here? And then next thing you know, she's like, Cordelia, you are my bitch. I think at the end, I'm pretty sure it's been known that Cordelia has given Cortana to Alistair. It's so sad. Like, it makes sense, but damn, it's just so freaking sad. The whole battle thing, oh my god. I honestly kind of predicted that Charles was going to be the next target, and I was like, right. So of course I was like, oh my god, I'm right. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want him to die. I was kidding when I said that it's gonna be Charles who's gonna be attacked next, okay? I was kidding. Also, this scene, oh my god. Cordelia is like fighting Jessie, and then Lucy comes, and then Lucy is like standing in the middle of Jessie and Cordelia. Not gonna lie, Lucy not moving away pissed me off, because I'm like, bitch, you could have been killed by your BFF, and that would have been really, really bad. And then in this book, James and Cordelia stab Bilio. That whole scene, I was like, I don't know, it seems too easy, like the way it happened, because Cordelia was like struggling to kill him, and then James helped her, and then they both stab Bilio. It went by too quickly, in my opinion. Like, that whole action scene, literally the only action scene that we got in this entire book. I know that we get to see Cordelia fighting the demons, but honestly, it also happened very quickly, because obviously Lilith sent the demons after her just to see if she can fight, and then the demons just like walk away. Like, that's what I mean. We don't have much action scenes, and when we do, they're very short. The fucking finale, the ending, I was honestly devastated, because my favorite couples, they're all like broken up. So Thomas and Alistair is like, you know what, we shouldn't be together. I was honestly so like mad and devastated. And then next thing you know, Ariadne was like, you know what, Anna, don't invite me to that place where we always like mess around. I don't know, but yeah, the relationship ended at the end of the book, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then next thing you know, we get to this part. So Tatiana is like, Grace, go seduce James again. And it's so gross how like Tatiana is trying to make Grace go after Jessie, her brother. Grace tells James the truth, but at the same time, when she goes to his house, she was like, oh my god, James, like, she was trying to obviously manipulate him again, because she knows for a fact she can't do that, and he goes along with it because he needs her to be in his house. He calls her out. I love that scene, because I'm like, yes, call her out. Honestly, what she did for the entire book is so wrong and so gross, because she manipulated him over and over and over again. Not just that, she's been manipulating him for years. Obviously, James is not okay with that, and then Cordelia runs away. So here's the thing, I know for a fact that if she just stayed for like 5 minutes, then she would hear the entire conversation. But at the same time, I don't blame her for running away, because to put things into perspective, at the beginning of this book, she marries James, but obviously it's for the wrong reason. The entire book, she's like in love with him, but she believes that he's not in love with her. Her father comes back for a little bit, and then he's like killed. And then she learns that she's a paladin for Lilith, not Wayland the Smith. She gives up Cortana because she knows for a fact it's not gonna, I guess, benefit her in the long run, because she's like fighting for Lilith. She's at her lowest by the end of this book. So when she hears that James says, oh god, or wait, what did he say? Oh, thank god, something like that, she's like, fuck this shit, and then she runs out. I don't blame her for running away, that's the thing. So she runs to Matthew's flat. So right now we're going to talk about Matthew and Cordelia and how he's been in love with her for a long time. I saw the signs. There were so many signs, and I choose not to pay attention to the signs until the final chapter, when he's like, Cordelia, I'm in love with you, I love you, and stuff. And I was like, bitch, what the fuck? Honestly, I was kind of blindsided. Again, it sounds fucking dumb because it's so obvious, but still, I was like, no, he's not in love with her. There's no way. Like, obviously, we're not doing this again. We're not having another peripatetic love triangle again. And then, of course, they're going to Paris after this. I understand why Cordelia is going to Paris with Matthew. She just needs a break, okay? My girl needs a vacation from this shit. And of course, later we learn that James knows about Matthew's feeling for Cordelia. I'm getting the names mixed up. Oh my god. Basically, James knows. Magnus knows. I was like, bruh, everyone knows but me. At the end, all of my ships have failed. James and Cordelia, no. Thomas and Alistair, no. Anna and Ariadne, no. You know what? I still have Will and Tessa, and that's all that matters. And now, last but not least, let's talk about Lucy and Jessie. So this is the finale. Basically, she brings him back from the dead successfully, but I was like, what the fuck is going on? At the end, she's like, Jessie, I command you to be alive, something like that. But basically, she commands him to come back from the dead, and it works. But then she faints. So now I want to know, is Jessie working for Belial? Because it looks like it. Like, he carries Lucy out of the institute and now she's missing. Will is like, oh my god, we need to find Lucy, and he asks James to like accompany him. That's the ending. Like, the ending really hurts me. I was like, wow, so much happened. Please comment down below, what is your favorite scene from this book? I think my favorite scene is James and Cordelia making out on the bed, and also James confronting Grace at the end and just like calling her out for her bullshit. That was also really good. So that's basically it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.
You mean bread and butterflies?
Oh, yes, of course.